Today we'll try to understand what these files actually do in Linux related operating systems. These files are generally called as bash files. These files contain some shell related commands or code which will be executed when these files are triggered in a bash session. So what is a bash session? A bash session, as of now, all you need to understand about bash session is it is something that starts at the moment you open a terminal, and the bash session ends when you close the terminal. That is all you need to understand for us to be able to have a grasp on what these files actually do. When you open a terminal, one bash session is already running. When you open another terminal, another bash session will have started. These two sessions are independent of each other. When you close this, the session ends. So these files will be triggered at some particular point of time during a bash session. Now we need to understand at which particular point of time which particular file will be triggered in a session. For that, what I have done is I've opened all these files and added a log message inside all these files, so that when that log message will be printed in a terminal, at that point of time we can have an understanding of which particular file has been triggered. Let me show an example. If you go into your home folder and inside one of your user, you can see the placement of these files here: .bashrc, .profile, .logout, .bash history. If you are not able to see these files at the first try, this option probably was not checked in your system. Any file that starts with dot is a hidden file in Linux based operating systems. So let me before that, for us to be able to properly understand what these files actually do, I have created two users in this system, and each user consists of a separate set of these files. To be clear, this U1 user will have a set of these bash files, and another set of bash files will be present in U2 user. The names will be same, and the code inside as of now will be same unless you change it. These set of files of these users are independent to each other. When you create another user, another set of these files will be present in that user. Now I was talking about adding some log messages in these files. uh, I have already added those log messages. For example, like this log message, when this gets printed on the terminal, we can understand this particular file has been triggered of which user, U1 user. I am inside .bashrc file of U1 user. Similarly, I have added another log messages in these file as well. .profile file of U1 user. Similar message present in .bash logout. I am inside .bash logout of U1 user. Similar log messages I have added in U2 user as well. This is U2 user, and we can see .bashrc .profile .bash logout .bash history inside these. If I open, I already added this log message for us to be able to understand when these things get triggered. Now I'll clear screen. Now I'm inside U1 user. Let me try to log into U2 user. As we can see, the moment I log into any of the user, the dot profile file will be the first thing that will get triggered when you log into some user. Not only this echo message, the subsequent code that is present inside those files will have already been executed when you the moment you log into that particular user. After dot profile file has been triggered and the subsequent code has been run, the next thing that will get triggered is dot bashrc file of u2 user. The, that particular information is evident from the logs that we printed. If I try to log into u1 user, the dot profile file of u1 has been triggered. The next lines of codes will be executed. When this dot profile file is done, next dot bashrc file will be uh, invoked. Now I will try to log out of u1 user. When you log out of u1 user, the dot bash logout file of this particular user will be the last file that runs when you log out of any user. Now I am inside u2 user. If I try to log out of u2 user, similar thing, dot bash logout of u2 user will be executed. In summary, we have seen when these particular files will be triggered in a bash session. Now this dot bash history is a bit different from these three files. Dot bash history is a file that stores the commands that we type inside a shell. We'll try to open this and see what's inside. Here you can see list of commands that I have been using for the past few minutes. If you want to see these list of commands directly inside a shell, you can use a command called history. This history, uh, it will get this information from the dot bash history file only. If I try to run a new command, ls-al, this will have been added into this history. Here ls-al has been added, and to see this we have run history command as well. So these two commands were added in .bash history file. That is the summary of when these files gets invoked. Now, so in the end, what is the use of these bash files? Suppose we want to have some variables that we want to be defined globally, or some function that we want to define it globally, a shell function, when we try to do some work inside a terminal. So we can add all those information inside these files, depending upon at which particular point of time you want to access those kind of variable information or function information. That is it for today. In future we'll try to explore more about these files, and we'll try to add variables and code functions as well in these files, and we'll try to experiment with them.